All right, I think I've hyped it up long enough. This is how I would book Jon Moxley's world title reign. Obviously, we have already seen a bit of Jon Moxley's world title reign. He has defeated Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream, retiring his best friend in the process, and then what happened afterwards was what shocked everyone. Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club turned on Bryan Danielson after weeks of giving riddles and after weeks of these puzzles that we were trying to figure out. It finally clicked to me, and my theory went viral all over the internet, saying that Jon Moxley had to be the one that defeated Bryan Danielson, because he had to be the one to take AEW and, as he says, burn the entire forest to plant a new one. In a way, Jon Moxley isn't the bad guy, but he's definitely doing bad guy things. He is destroying everybody. We've seen him break Private Party's hands. He's taken out Top Flight. He has taken out Chuck Taylor. And he has gotten some people to raise the bar of themselves, like an Orange Cassidy, who then he defeated at Full Gear for his first title defense. And with the addition of Marina Shafir, Jon Moxley is basically unstoppable with the rest of Blackpool Combat Club, now called the Death Riders. And I think that they're telling an amazing story right now. But the thing is, I don't think it ends anytime soon. But I think that we are going to get an interesting match at World's End. So I'm recording this right after Full Gear and right before the Dynamite before Full Gear. So this part could be a bit outdated, but I think it's fine. It's not going to matter too much. At the end of Full Gear, we not only seen Jon Moxley defeat Orange Cassidy and him and Yuta forcing him to drink bleach. Not exactly sure if Orange Cassidy is going to be on TV or not. But after that moment, Christian comes down to the ring to attempt his cash in, and Hangman is there with him, as Hangman made a deal with Christian that if he helped him cash in, then Hangman would get the first opportunity for the title. And right as Christian goes to cash in, it's very interesting to note that Hangman hesitated. That'll be important in just a second. Jay White prevents Christian from cashing in. Then Jay White's beaten up by the Death Riders. He's screaming specifically at Pac, and Jon Moxley dips off and the Death Riders leave. However, that wouldn't be everything, as a car would wreck into their truck and it would be revealed to be Darby Allin. So now, coming out of this, there's a lot of theories on what's about to happen for World's End. I think the most popular one is that they're going to do some kind of fatal four-way. Is it going to be Jon Moxley versus Hangman versus Jay White, and then maybe Orange, maybe Christian, just depending on all of that. We know that Darby's not going to be in it because he's going to be in the Continental Classic, and I think that's a really, really smart move by AEW. And I don't really like the idea of a fatal four-way or a triple threat at all. So here's what I would do. I would have on Dynamite, or just in the next coming weeks, Hangman Adam Page versus Orange Cassidy, if he's okay, versus Jay White for the opportunity for the #1 contendership. And in the triple threat match, Jay White knocks out Orange Cassidy. He is about to win. Hangman throws him over, pins him. He doesn't really do the work, but he gets the win, and he is the new #1 contender. And Christian's a little upset about this because he's like, dude, what's going to happen here? You're going to become AEW World Champion. I'm going to have to cash in on you. And Hangman basically says, you know, you can take that and shove it up your ass. He's done with Christian, which forces the fans to go, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. Christian is going to either cost Hangman, or after Hangman wins, he's going to cash in on Hangman. Neither one of those are going to happen, because that hesitation between Hangman and Christian is very important. Ever since defeating Swerve, Hangman is a completely different person, and we've all seen that in his character. AEW is definitely making that a major part of Hangman. But another huge part of Hangman is he's not winning. He's not really winning these matches. I mean, yes, he's beaten Jeff Jarrett and Juice Robinson, but like, he can't beat a Jay White. And Jay White, after that triple threat, he's going to go, you still didn't beat me. You got lucky. And that hesitation that Hangman had with Christian shows that there's still the old Hangman in there. It's just buried deep down after a lot of trauma and PTSD from the entire Swerve feud. And ultimately, we get to World's End, Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page, and Jon Moxley wins. I don't think that you need to do a lot of shenanigans, not a lot of overbooking. Jon Moxley just straight up beats Hangman Page clean. Why? Because Hangman is still fighting himself, and he can't save AEW until he is able to save himself. Hangman's definitely the two wolves live inside me meme. So Hangman has to go figure that out. And I do think that a major part of Hangman's story is going back to Swerve, not to fight him, but for him to figure out how to find himself again, because he lost himself a little bit in that Swerve match. So after World's End, we're getting to the buildup of Grand Slam Australia, and we have a pissed off Jay White, who at World's End defeated Pac, Then you can have Jay White go on and defeat Wheeler Yuta in a match. And Jay White wants his opportunity, finally, one-on-one with Jon Moxley. He's been screwed out by AEW. He's been screwed by Hangman. He wants finally his opportunity to save AEW and take that title off of Moxley. And at Grand Slam Australia, we see the Bang Bang Gang and the Death Riders get into it in the Jon Moxley-Jay White match. And that ends up benefiting Jon Moxley as he is able to choke out Jay White and defeat the Switchblade. Great way to get massive heat on the Death Riders in Australia as well. I know that Jay White's not Australian, but New Zealand, we're pretty close here. The Dynamite after Grand Slam Australia, AEW gets their savior. They get their one-winged angel in Kenny Omega. Right before this, Kenny Omega was going into a feud with Kazuchika Okada, and now Kenny is here to save the company. So they're set to face off at Revolution, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. You could literally build this as basically where it all started. These are the real two building blocks of AEW, and of course it makes sense that Kenny can save the company from Jon Moxley. Nobody knows him better. Nobody can beat him like Kenny Omega can. Once again, Jon Moxley leaves the arena as the AEW World Champion, this time because of a new member of the Death Riders, Jack Perry. That will lead to a Jack Perry-Kenny Omega feud that could definitely be very interesting. And I think that in that pay-per-view, we should also do like Jack versus Darby, where Jack just brutalizes Darby. So we can have Darby written off for a while he tries to attempt to climb Mount Everest, which I know that he is just hell-bent on doing. And I think that throughout the beginning of the year, we should see Darby Allin and House of Black kind of make an alliance. We're seeing them challenge for the Trios Championship. Shoot, maybe they win the Trios Championship. So coming off of Revolution, what's Jon Moxley's next challenge? Well, it is going to be to face the heavy hitters of AEW. Let's say Swerve, Hangman, and Will Ospreay. Fatal four-way match. And this entire build-up is Hangman attempting to convince Swerve that they got to work together because they have never been the same since their match. Swerve is still getting wins. He's not at the heights, but he's still getting wins. And he believes, well, all I got to do, face Moxley, beat Moxley, I'm back to where I always was. And in that match, he cannot stand being in the ring with Hangman. He still has this resentment towards Hangman after everything that happened. And it costs him. It's his greed. It's the story of Hangman and Swerve. If there's a triple threat, if there's a fatal four-way, they're still going to be paying attention to each other. Which will allow Jon Moxley and the Death Riders to take advantage of Ospreay and let Ospreay know you may be the greatest wrestler on this earth, but that's not good enough to save this company. I think throughout all of this, we should be having these little hints of Darby Allin's return and when he's coming back. So coming out of Dynasty, Jon Moxley and the Death Riders plant their flag. I wouldn't mind, quite literally, in the AEW ring to say that this company is officially ours. Nobody could step up to beat Jon Moxley. It didn't matter if you were the best wrestler in the world, which sets up the Death Riders versus the Elite for control of the company. If the Elite lose, they're done. There are no EVP powers. They are just back to regular wrestlers. And this match is at Anarchy in the arena where the Death Riders once again win. They strip the Elite of their EVP powers, and Jon Moxley and the Death Riders now control AEW. And I think the closing shot of Double or Nothing should be Darby Allin in the rafters. So after Anarchy in the arena, we have a couple weeks where Jon Moxley is just reigning terror. The Death Riders have controlled AEW, and it is a horror show. Until Jon Moxley hears the music of the one guy that he never wanted to hear. It is the music of Eddie Kingston. As the crowd erupts and it all makes sense, it clicks into their head. Eddie is truly the savior of AEW. This is his title story. Also, due to Eddie's injury, he would be coming back around this time, so it makes sense why he's been gone for so long. But in the ring, Eddie Kingston goes to Moxley and hugs him. He hugs him, and the fans have an insane outpour of disappointment. He hugs Moxley and tells him, "Mox, I love you." And just as everyone releases a groan in unison, he goes, "But I love this company more." That is when Eddie Kingston takes out Jon Moxley, and at Forbidden Door, we have Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. Eddie Kingston loves Jon, but Eddie Kingston also loves AEW. He loves New Japan. He wants to represent the idea of AEW. That is what he loves, and even if he has to take out Moxley, he loves this more than anything. And at Forbidden Door, that is when Jon Moxley goes to a place that he never thought that he would have to. He defeats Eddie Kingston, brutalizes Kingston. And about halfway through the match, you can see this change in Mox's face. And this change is him contemplating if this was all worth it, if he's still after the same goal that he was originally after. Is Jon Moxley doing this for the betterment of AEW, or is he doing this because he loves the power that he holds? As Moxley is contemplating all of this, Darby Allin jumps from the rafters. He is back, he takes out Mox, and he is standing tall at the end of Forbidden Door. And the next thing that they're setting up is blood and guts. And that is when we will see the Death Riders versus Eddie Kingston. Let's say Swerve, Hangman. And then we finally get Darby Allin coming back for this match. And not only is he back, you know, they said that he was retired from full-time action, but he can bust out a couple matches every now and then. Bryan Danielson's back. Bryan Danielson is back for this blood and guts match because he doesn't care to be AEW World Champion. He cares to stop Jon Moxley. He cares to stop the Death Riders. And genuinely, this is where the Death Riders lose. So obviously there's no title change, but Jon Moxley and the Death Riders have been finally beaten for the first time ever in his title reign. So at All In, you finally have the culmination. It is Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. And so at All In, we see Jon Moxley and the Death Riders come out. We get Darby Allin and the House of Black coming out. And this match is booked as mayhem. It's Darby Allin. It's Jon Moxley. There's blood. There's glass. There's ladders. There's guys fighting on the outside. You got Bryan Danielson in the box watching this all happening, praying that Darby Allin is the guy to save AEW. Just as it looks like Jon Moxley has the upper hand, the Death Riders are going to do it again. Jon Moxley's walking out of AEW with the World Championship. Lights go out. It's not House of Black. It's Sting. Sting comes down from the rafters. He hits Jon Moxley with the baseball bat. Stinger splash. Darby Allin. Coffin drop. Darby Allin finally does it. He vanquishes Jon Moxley, and he has finally stepped up. He is the face of AEW, and he is the AEW World Champion. Darby Allin is hoisted on the shoulders of Sting, of House of Black, of Bryan Danielson. Just give him the Cody Rhodes WrestleMania 40 treatment. This is Darby Allin's moment, and Darby Allin is finally the face of AEW, the guy that has never cared about the contracts, the guy that has genuinely cared about this company, tooth and nail. He has sacrificed for this company. Darby Allin has finally proven that he is the guy to carry AEW into the future. I think a beautiful ending to that is the Dynamite after Jon Moxley comes out, shakes Darby Allin's hand, and says, "This is all I ever wanted." So that's it. That's how I would book the Jon Moxley world title reign. I don't think it's ending anytime soon. I genuinely do think that Darby Allin is going to beat him at All In. I think that this is genuinely, if my theory was correct and they're still going with what I think that they are, which I do think that they are, I think that this is arguably one of AEW's best ever stories, and I hope that they allow this to be a slow burn. So let me know what you guys think about this entire story. I am really excited to see if AEW goes a very similar direction. That's it. You guys have been incredibly gracious and incredibly kind to me in all of my booking videos. Even if you hate this video, you know, let me know why you hate it. You know, there's no problem with that. I'm just starting out on this YouTube shit, as I keep saying. So I am just learning a lot of this. But hopefully this came out to be a pretty entertaining video. You know, maybe boost this video up so Tony Khan can see it and steal some of the ideas, or he can give me an AEW creative job, because I will take it. I will work for pennies, TK. Thank you. Doses, guys.